We are the One Story Podcast. We believe in the power of a story. Everyone has a story, and that story is meaningful. Your story can make a difference. Your story can inspire others. Your story is important. At the same time, ultimately, everyone's story is a part of one story, the big God story.
It's not what you said. You're not who you said you were. When are you alone? When will you come back home?
We're back with the One Story Podcast. Welcome, everyone. This is episode 24.
Oh, dang.
Oh, dang. We are excited to be here. My name is Drew.
Like your radio voice.
And I'm with
Isaac.
Isaac. See, I always do these intro ones with coming here live.
Yeah, it's funny because we start off like that, and then it just regular,
So,
just
Not even
just my
that,
regular
yeah.
dorky voice.
It's almost like because you feel the start of, you got a mic in front of you, you got to, hey, everybody. Oh, man. Yeah, just excited to be here once again. So glad that you guys are tuning in. Whoever you may be, what you're doing right now, we just appreciate your time and, that you're listening and that you're giving this a chance. We're hoping that you're sharing it with friends, that this is, honestly, we've said this a couple times. We hope to hear from you. And I'd like to know if you guys are so brave or so inclined to just, email us or direct message us on social media. Just let us know what this podcast is doing for you.
My mom said she was going to email us.
Oh, yeah?
She goes, I was going to email you, but she just called me. So I just figured I'd just call you.
Well,
she was going to say, she's like, you need to have your wives on. So, Abby, I know you don't listen, but if you do, if you happen to listen to this, my mom wants you on the pod.
See what's all about, the real story. But yeah, no, if you would, let us know what this is doing for you. If you're not a believer and this is maybe sparking something, we'd love to know about that. If you're a believer and it's helping or reigniting something, that's awesome too. We just want to know what this is doing for people, because we're having a great time doing it, and we believe in this. We believe in the power of a story, like we always say, and yeah, we just want to keep it going.
Happy Father's Day, Drew.
Happy Father's Day, Isaac.
The Father's Day episode.
Yeah, this is gonna drop, and yes, it'll be a Monday, and yesterday was Father's Day. So
what'd you do?
Shout out to all the.
What'd you do for your dad?
Well, what am I going to do for my dad? I don't know.
I think we should kind of touch base on that. Touch on that. You talked about it on your when you gave your testimony, but the fact that you and your dad have a relationship, which was rekindled on Father's Day, right?
Yeah, 2014 when I sent him the text, Happy Father's Day. That's true. I didn't even think about that. So 4 years ago, kind of started the relationship back up. And yeah, Happy Father's Day, Dad. It's good to get things going again and have that relationship. Which it's still messy because of everything that's happened, but God is good, and His grace is.
And if people don't know,
that
it was just like a divorce and just kind of be separated for 10 years But then, his your relationship was restored just through grace of God. You felt the love and the grace that you were given, and you were able to give that back to your dad. So
yeah,
it's powerful. And then
what about on your side?
I got two puppies.
Two puppies.
I got I come from a divorced family, but I was fortunate enough to have a good relationship with both my biological father and my stepfather. It's just it trips me out sometimes where I think I'm so much like my biological father in the sense of like just like weird, like quirky, like weird, like things that I can't help besides the way I look, it sucks.
What's your innate part of you?
Well, but it's funny looking at my dad. I go, dang, that's the way I'm gonna look when I'm old. And then my and then my stepdad, like I do. There's so much of him that I have, like as far as
influence from him.
Yeah, a lot of my interests and personality stuff. I think it's funny. I was thinking we should give him a ring.
Give him a call.
I want to see. It's fun. The reason I want to is because when we first started the show, he goes, "Oh, when am I gonna come on?" And I told him Father's Day episode. He's like, "Okay," because my dad, my stepdad, he's a storyteller. That's his jam. He just loves telling stories, like, and
Right.
it's so funny because he'll start getting into a story, and at the end he has a punchline, and it's not even a real story. He's just telling a joke.
But it's long.
Yeah.
All right, let's see what happens.
Let's see.
This could go really good or be nothing. It's ringing.
He's at work right now, so
Might not answer.
I hope he does. This would be awesome.
Hey.
Papa.
Yeah.
Hey, you have a minute?
Yeah.
You're on the show right now. We're recording
that?
we're recording a podcast and we have you on.
You are on the podcast.
I just had to let you know cuz this is good. Just so legally we're good. I got Drew with me right now.
Okay.
I just
Close it there.
I just wanted to say happy Father's Day.
Oh, well, thank you. Appreciate that.
I just wanted wanted to know why you would father us. Why would you take a single mom with 3 kids? What were you thinking?
Well, I was a little crazy back then.
A lot of alcohol.
No, it was your mom's whole personality, the way she was trying hard with you guys, the way she struggled. She had a good hard work ethic, never complained, was always doing for you guys, really never asked for anything for herself. And then once I met you guys, it was just like, you guys fell in love with you guys, and it grew on me. So
Dang.
it all went from there.
I've talked about it before on the show about the night I met you and just kind of how instantly we had a connection.
Oh yeah, it was great. I mean, the minute I showed up and met you guys for the first time, and we got to hang out, everything was good after that. I mean, and then, like I said, your mom, she was just, she had my heart right then and there, and which meant you guys did too. So.
Aww. What was it like raising me? Give me one good story, an example of what it was like bringing me up.
Crazy. You would not settle down. It was keeping an eye on you was like 24/7.
That sounds about right.
Tell you no, you would do it anyway. No matter how much warning I would give, this is going to hurt or whatever, you would still keep going. I think you're still the same way, aren't you?
Allegedly. Well, Papa, we just wanted we had talked when we first started the show. You're like, "Oh, when are you gonna have me on?" I said Father's Day, so I thought I'd give you a ring right now. I know you can't be in, but I definitely just wanted to tell you that that I love you and I just thank you for everything that you did for us. I mean, you just really kind of you were the hero of the story. You took us out of poverty and you just took care of us and you loved us and I had everything I ever needed and I appreciate it.
Well, I love you too, and thank you very much, and I appreciate you calling me and wishing me a happy Father's Day. You guys always, it means a lot when you guys call me, and I really appreciate the fact that you guys love me as much as I love you guys. So that's
all right. No more mushy stuff.
So that's it.
I'm just kidding.
I gotta go.
All right, Papa. Love you. I'll talk to you. I'll talk to you. And I'll call you on Sunday. All right.
All right. Sounds good.
All right.
You.
Bye.
All right. Bye.
Nice.
Aww.
That was good. He answered.
Yeah, it's just awesome to just to think that he came into our lives and just kind of took over. When we needed it most. So
yeah. And
much love.
And you get into the story if you want to check out Isaac's episode
14.
Few back, yeah, and you can hear all of that. So,
and if you want to hear about Drew's
you got
story,
17 and 18. Yeah. So tonight we're excited. We have Shane Groves on the show. Well, actually, before I get into that, I just wanted last episode with Christian Gale. I just make a little correction on my Bible, calling out.
Gosh.
Just not that it was a big deal, but I was talking about Moses and the Battle of the Amalekites, and I said that Joshua was up on the hill holding his arms up, but it was actually Aaron and Hur. So
I'm pretty sure people were
they were pissed. They were so pissed.
About that
We're writing emails. We got our first 20 emails that came through. So.
All complaints, giving us false
false doctrine. Wrong. No, but I just wanted to clear that up. It is a good story, and check it out in the Bible, Exodus. I think it's chapter 17, maybe.
I'm going through it right now at church. So.
Oh, really? Oh, yeah.
I'll let you know.
Good stuff
in the future.
So yeah, we're gonna get in tonight with Shane Groves. Shane is
a friend of mine
friend of Isaac's
here at Southlands Chino, where we met, and and
he has a great story that we think you're gonna enjoy. Just kind of growing up with no God background, kind of establishing himself as an atheist, and kind of antagonistic towards Christians, and kind of what that looked like, how that played out, and how God met him. So we know you're going to enjoy it. So here we go. All right. We're here with Shane Groves on the podcast. How you doing, Shane?
Good, guys. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here. Jinx. It's already
Personal
starting.
jinx.
Yeah. Episode 24 with Shane Groves.
Dang.
Excited to get into this story from Shane. Shane, you know Isaac from
here at church.
This community.
From right here, Chino.
Southlands
From
Chino.
this very room.
Kind of, sort of.
Yeah.
No, we were. It was funny. We were debating about when we first met.
Yeah.
I like the memory of meeting you at Kelly's house.
That works, man.
Basically,
yeah.
When I heard your testimony,
Kelly,
it's funny because he had asked like, "Oh, like how'd you end up here?" And you kind of told your testimony then.
Yeah.
And I remember I was like, "Dang, this guy goes hard."
Yeah. Well, I remember Kelly asked us to come over for dinner, and then we show up, and he's like, "Oh, I hope you don't mind, but we invited another family." I'm like, "Cool."
Yeah, that was fun.
And
that was cool.
It was you guys?
Yep.
So it was like 3 families?
It was the
Nice.
Labrijas.
Love at first sight.
Yeah. So, Shane's getting over a cold from this past week, so hopefully he doesn't sound...
Yeah, sorry, guys. I'm trying not to cough in the
No,
mic, but
you got the radio voice.
Yeah.
I'll make it work.
Yeah, man. So I think we jump right into it.
Yeah.
Let's get into your story. What's it all about, man?
All right. I was born in Fontana, California.
Fontucky.
Good old Fontana.
Is there like is Fontucky like a certain part of Fontana or
It's
all
all
of Fontana? Okay.
It's all of Fontana. I don't even think you can really call it Fontucky anymore because
It's been developed. It's developing like crazy.
well, it's like the north end, they're throwing all the money, but like the south and the central, they're just like letting it do its own thing.
Well, it's funny when you talk to people. I live in Fontana, but north of the 210.
Yeah, that's like
You have to specify?
yeah.
No, I live north of the 210.
Yeah, it's like no, you just basically paid for $1 million house in Fontana.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You still live in Fontana.
You still live in Fontana.
That's like if you're
buddy.
a CEO of McDonald's, you still work for McDonald's.
Yeah.
Well, but...
And then I did not grow up in the church.
Mhm.
I was not taught any type of belief system from either of my parents. So yeah, and then so I was kind of left on my own to really kind of figure things out, try to make sense of life. I knew when I was young, I was like abnormally terrified of death. Like I remember not being able to sleep certain nights because just thought of death being just like this dark place, like you're conscious. But
When did that start?
as far back as I can remember, being a little kid.
Did someone die in your family that
Nope.
that kind of...
No, but I mean, I truly believe like we all have eternity built inside of us, and when you don't know exactly I knew from a young age death is gonna happen. It's inevitable,
Mm-hmm.
and I was just kind of like, well, that sucks. I don't know what's gonna happen afterwards. It's gonna come.
So you saw it as like just a nothing.
Yeah.
So, and that was the fear is you're gonna die and it's just gonna be black and nothing.
Yeah,
And
it's like consciousness, but you don't
Just-
see anything, don't
right.
feel anything, nothing. You're
That's
just
pretty
like, yeah,
terrifying.
yeah. Because I mean, I didn't have anyone else explain anything to me, so
Right,
it's like
Gotta
that's
make up.
kind of what I made up for myself,
Mhm.
and I took that all the way into like late teens.
And you never talked to anybody about it?
Kept it to myself.
Did you were you able to talk to your parents? Like in any
Uh,
facet? Like, I mean, about the way you felt or
yeah.
like the communication?
I remember when I was young and like feeling that way. I didn't really want to bring anything else up to like my mom because I knew that she was going through a lot as far as like the divorce and everything.
Mm-hmm.
She was working her butt off, working 2 jobs. So I just was like, I don't need to bring this up.
Mm-hmm.
I'll just handle this myself. I mean, I would talk to my brother about it sometimes, but he didn't know anything. He was only like a year older than me.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, so.
So that carried into your early
Yeah.
adolescence.
Yeah. Yeah, I kind of brought that, but then I found ways to just ignore it or like hide it or let it sink down. I would say probably about middle school, I got into like punk music and like really aggressive type music.
What
Like
kind of
who-
bands?
Yeah.
I listened to a lot. I've listened to Strung Out as far back as I can remember. That's one of my favorite bands.
It was funny when I showed you my strung out tattoo, and you're like, oh, you really do, you like good music, or
Yeah.
would you say?
Yeah, I was like, I didn't know you like good music.
Yeah,
Yeah, that was like my favorite punk band growing up.
For
Oh
sure.
yeah, I love them. My dad always listened to like metal, like Black Sabbath and Metallica. So I just got into that heavy aggression, and I really followed the lyrics really closely. And I was like, hey, these are my people.
Oh, really? So did you kind of start to take that on as like as an identity?
Yeah. I mean, I had anger issues as a kid. I just did. I don't know why. For whatever reason, it didn't take much to really make me mad. And I would get physical, like especially with my brother. Yeah,
Really?
especially with my brother. I just, for whatever reason,
And he's your older brother,
he's my older brother.
and you used to beat him up.
Yeah.
No.
Unfortunately, yeah. Oh man, I treated him.
I met your brother. He looks nice.
He's very nice. He's like one of the sweetest guys you could ever meet, and he would do absolutely anything for me. But yeah,
And
I
did
was
you hit him
an
for it?
absolute jerk to him.
It was just you kind of lashing out, and I mean, the anger. Do you think it came from your parents splitting? Or
Yeah, I just think it came from that. Yeah, I just had a short temper, and even
and
in
as
school,
a kid, you can't really. I mean, it's hard as a kid to like
manage.
go, why am I angry?
Yeah, yeah,
like,
no,
you
you're
just you just act out.
yeah, you just
Yeah.
act out. You're
Yeah.
like, oh, why am I like this?
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. Yeah, like we all have young kids, and you see like them doing whatever it is. It's just like they can't control. Like if they have a meltdown, it's like you can't get mad at them. They can't control
Or
the way they
process
feel.
it,
You know?
and their mind doesn't.
Like I feel like melting down all the time.
Yep.
You know, I barely keep it together.
Yeah.
and and I'm a grown man.
Unfortunately, that's my youngest son, Noah. He's the sweetest little kid. He's a sweetheart, but it takes him about 0.2 seconds for him to flip and want to
Really?
tear. Oh yeah, man. He gets mad, and when he gets mad, he's just like he like clenches
So
his
funny 'cause
fist
he's
and
such
like
a little.
like
He's like
shakes 'cause
tiny and he's so cute.
yeah.
It's funny to think about.
Oh yeah. But
Little-
he'll scream, he'll yell, and I'm just it'll last maybe like 5 minutes, and then he's fine. But I'm like, bro, we got to take care of this early.
dude, maintain.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, so yeah, growing up in San Bernardino was rough. Couldn't really do anything. I used to skate a lot, and I mean, growing up out there, you were just kind of like you had to be wary of where you went, what time you went, and
Just bad areas,
yeah.
Like
our
gang lifestyle, or what?
yeah. Where the first house we lived in San Bernardino was in a pretty bad area. It wasn't horrible, but I mean, you go maybe a mile south, and it's really bad. We had multiple cars stolen. We had a dog
Dang.
stolen.
Jeez.
I was a little kid skateboarding, and I had people coming up to me like asking me if I was in a gang or like where you from, and I'm just like, I'm not from anywhere.
Was there a lot of Latinos back then?
Yeah.
Okay.
In that area, it was heavily Hispanic and black.
Okay.
Yeah,
So to say the least, you stood out.
A little bit, bit.
Did anybody ever try to like take advantage of that or really?
No, because I didn't really do a whole lot in San Bernardino. I mean,
Like
I lived there.
You couldn't do anything. So
Yeah, so mostly like all my friends lived in Fontana. So
and you were going to school over there.
and I was going to school there.
Okay.
So anytime I could, I got out of San Bernardino because it was just like,
Yeah.
this is where I was from. I know these people. I don't want to know these other people. So
Yeah.
so yeah, I grew up out there. And I guess fast forward a bit. I would say about the time I got into high school, I started just following beliefs of there is no God. I just
Like you consciously just decided like, oh, I don't believe there's a God, or
it was a lot of confusion. Like, is there a God? I really started to think about it more. Like, I kind of wanted to be there, but it's like, where are you, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, I would say about the time I got out of high school, it was weird. I had a subscription to Rolling Stone magazine because I was big into music, like in high school and stuff. I was in a bunch of bands and stuff. And I read this article, and I had heard of the guy before.
Give me some band names that you're in.
Now or back then?
No, back then.
Back then.
Are you in a band now?
Oh, no. I thought you said bands I was into.
No, bands that you were actually played in. I like band names.
One of the last ones I was in was it was called Everything I Wrote. The guy
so
was
emo.
like super emo.
So emo.
Yeah, but they needed a drummer, and it was really weird because I was like into like heavier like hardcore and punk and stuff, and then he was just like super emo, and then his cousin was the guitarist, and he could shred. Like his favorite bands were like Avenged Sevenfold, Death by Stereo, Thrice. So he was really good. I'm like, this doesn't make sense.
That's funny.
Yeah, so I was in that one very shortly. But other than that, I was in a punk band called Killed in Action. I was in, God, I can't even think of the other ones. Funny story, though. Yeah, funny
You've
story.
been in the military? No. Just
No. Funny story, though, is that band I was in, and these are like mine and my brother's friends. A couple of them were in a Blink-182 cover band. And they're all Asian, and they were called Chink 182.
That's
probably
funny.
one of my favorite band names I've
We'll have to go
heard.
watch them play. Are they
They're
still play?
not. No. That was like high school stuff.
That'd have been fun.
Yeah. So yeah, I was reading this article.
We might have to edit that out.
That was
just
their
funny.
call.
That's funny.
Hey, they chose it. Yeah. So, I was out of high school. I went to college, but I was really into. I took a chemistry class in college and I loved it. Because in high school I didn't really pay attention to anything, but I just I really enjoyed it. I appreciated it. And then one day I was reading got a new Rolling Stone magazine. I was reading it and it had this, God, I can't think of his name, but that's how long it's been. But I used to follow a lot of his work, and he just basically said like the earth is a living organism and we as people are destroying it, and it's going to do what it's always done, and it's just going to cure the problem.
Fix itself.
So I bought into that like really hard because I'm like, yeah, this makes sense to me.
And then you're into like science and stuff like that, so it really kind of resonated.
Absolutely, yeah. So I from that period, I would say I was like 18. I was just like,
there's no God.
I was an atheist. Yeah, like I just bought into it, and I didn't really have a good Christian influence in my life. So like,
so it's not like you were stepping away from God or
No.
saying no to God. Like you didn't have God, and then you were kind of just, I
this
don't believe he's there. And
this makes sense to me. Right. And then it kind of turned toward like.
But it sounds like you were kind of like you said before, you kind of wanted there to be a God.
Yeah.
Where did that come from? Do you know?
I just think it came from
just God, just really just being in your,
somewhere inside, because I didn't have a good influence of what a godly man looked like. I had friends that said they were Christian, but they were doing the exact same thing I was doing. I mean, I got into drinking.
Yeah, I knew some people like that.
Yeah. I got
Isaac's looking at me.
I got into drinking really young, like 14 years old.
How'd you get into
that? Just staying at a friend's house.
Oh, okay.
Usually when I went out to Fontana, I would stay at someone's house for a while. And
I guess when you're in high school, it's just that's what most high schoolers do.
Yeah, I got it. Yeah, and then
drugs.
Yeah, when I was 18, I got more into. All I did was drink with my friends. Like we would go to shows, watch bands, and drink.
Not much has changed, huh? I'm just kidding.
Yeah, quite a bit has actually.
Just kidding. We're getting there.
Yeah. No, so from there, I guess I would just continue on in school and was on that path for a while, and I
just like drinking and just
and then
kind of just living in the world.
Yeah, and then I went through this phase where I was like really antagonistic towards Christians because it was
more than not believing.
It became more than not believing because it was I didn't see it lived out. Most people I knew, they were doing the exact same thing I was doing, and then
this is maybe claiming to be a Christian.
Oh yeah.
And this is interesting because it sounds like that there was Christians around you. And what kind of like environment was this? Like where you were
like from
interacting?
School, like some of the bands I was in, like one particular, like the singer was Christian. I went to church every Sunday.
Was it a hardcore band?
It was.
Yeah, because I think that's part of that scene, right? Like
yeah, there's deep roots of that. Like, I mean, in it, I mean, there's, gosh, at that time there's a lot of Christian bands, like hardcore metal bands, coming out.
So you're in the music scene heavily, so naturally you're running into these people.
Yeah. And he would basically like make comments about my lifestyle, but then I would see him at the same parties or like the same
one
thing.
guy in specific that was kind of turning you off towards
Christianity. It was more than one.
Okay.
But I mean that one it sticks with me. Which is awesome now because I see the guy and
what kind of things was he doing? Was it just what he was telling you, or like he was being hypocritical?
Yeah, it was basically like, I mean, you should do this. I mean, you shouldn't be drinking and all this stuff. It was telling me all the stuff I shouldn't be doing.
And was he drinking too?
Yep, and cheating on his girlfriend and all kinds of stuff.
Nice.
So it was just like,
I want to hang out with that guy.
Honestly, now I reconvened with him later in my story.
And now he's an atheist.
No, he's an awesome dude. Gave his life back to the Lord, recommitted it, and has an awesome, beautiful family. And he's a great guy.
Can I get his number?
Yeah.
So the atheism so you considered yourself an atheist, so you didn't believe there was a God.
No.
And then you said you were becoming antagonistic towards Christians.
Yep.
Did it also have to do, I mean, as you're getting older, you're 18, 19, or I think is what you were saying.
Yep.
You start developing your worldviews and kind of seeing the world around us in a bigger picture. Was it also what you see, like evil in the world? Like, how can there be a God if this is going on? And
there was a lot of that. But again, it was more so just like I began to look at Christianity as more like a fairy tale type of thing that people were believing just to make themselves feel better.
Okay.
And
did you read literature, from atheist writers or anything like that? Okay.
That would kind of just like try to discount what Christians believe in?
Yep.
But did you know anything about Christian theology?
I knew what I wanted to know, I guess.
Right.
I didn't open myself up enough to actually read.
Like you didn't go on a quest to disprove Christianity.
No, in no way. It was just like, well, if this is so real, then why
Could you give me an
why
example?
don't I see it?
Like something that kind of like you said, there was like you knew enough to think that was like baloney.
Yeah, like mainly all of the Old Testament. I mean, I had read portions of that, and I was just like,
So like the Red Sea party.
That's what I was thinking. Party in the Red Sea.
Red
That's the first thing I
Sea.
thought of.
It's like, okay,
Red Sea, Jonah,
Jonah and the whale.
yeah.
Jonah and the whale. I mean,
Yeah.
I can
Noah's Ark,
Noah's
yeah.
Ark, like all these things. It was
Which is
just
funny
like
because your son.
Noah. Yep.
All right,
Shout out
so,
to Noah.
Yeah.
um,
Again.
He listens. He listens.
Oh yeah, he's like your guys' biggest fan.
I knew it. Awesome. Okay, so yeah, I think that paints
Yeah.
a
So
picture
I mean,
of that.
yeah, and then I would just
And your friends, your group that you hang out, you would hang out and drink with, they were kind of on the same level.
not so much as I was. They were just drinking and going to shows and just.
I think some people don't even think about God.
No. Like they. Well, I think everyone does, but they don't talk about it.
Right.
They don't bring it up. They're just like, this is too deep. Let's just drink and listen to music and party and look for girls, and this will figure itself out later in life.
But unfortunately, even Christians don't talk about
Absolutely.
it either.
Oh,
Yeah.
Dang.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Boom. That's deep.
I just heard
very true.
something from a podcast talking about like some statistics of people that claim to be Christians. Like, how many times are you talking about, if in quotations, Christian stuff per week, and the numbers are very low.
Dang.
Yeah.
To get into conversations of
Well,
theology and or whatever.
Yeah.
Well, that's just living in the world. It's like hard. Well, like you're saying, it's hard to talk about stuff that people don't really understand, and it's kind of like you have to like. If you have a certain belief, you have a certain perspective about something that's stemming from Christ, right?
Yeah.
Like your Christian view.
Yeah.
And you're talking to someone in the world about it.
Yeah.
Like they wouldn't understand. So it's almost like you don't want. I can see how people just don't even want to waste their energy, even trying to.
Yeah. I would say, like, in a sense, like today's version of evangelism is basically finding an opening to bring God in the conversation. When you're talking with someone, just like, oh yeah, that reminds me of this, and then
Oh, I thought it was like.
So almost it feels like an agenda. Like you have an agenda just to talk to someone versus really genuinely getting to know someone.
well, no, I think that's a part of it, because I think the damage, unfortunately, that the church has done with like the turn or burn type stuff, that doesn't reach anybody. That just it fed my anger when I was an atheist, because
Right.
like
When you say turn and burn.
Just the idea of like fire and brimstone.
Yeah, like,
okay.
soapbox preachers just yelling it out on a microphone, not engaging in a real conversation, just really telling people.
Mm-hmm.
The idea of reading Corinthians when Paul talks about like if I speak in tongues but without love, I'm just a clattering.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah. So I think it's being purposeful in your conversations, but also like just really trying to find an app, like being every conversation that there's a point where you could speak about God. God's huge, and if He's really that big a part of your life.
Usually when I'm in a conversation with someone, I want to drop that. I just go, Jesus. They go, what? And I go, oh, no, nothing.
Sounds pretty forceful.
Wow.
Yeah. So
you are a dad.
yeah, you are.
I'm
Dad.
so
Dad
lame.
joke.
Yeah. Yes.
So it sounds like you felt like you were feeling judged by these people that were, these Christian
Absolutely.
peers of yours. And then not only that, like you were talking about earlier, how your fear of death.
Yep.
And kind of like, I don't know, just my perspective, it's like just putting that together. It's like you're judging me that I can go to hell or something like that for doing what I'm doing, and I'm scared to die. So if I die, I'm going to go to hell. Like, oh, that's like, I don't even want any part of that.
Yeah. Don't tell me that. I don't want to hear any part of that. So. So yeah, that was that. I guess that played out for quite a while. I mean.
So were you? And you said you were getting kind of like hostile with Christians.
Yeah, like
and like
sometimes.
which way?
Well, yeah. I mean, one of my favorite venues is the Glass House, and they'll have people out there all the time trying to preach the gospel and talk to people. I would get in arguments with them because I'm like, don't come here with that. Like,
Dang.
I don't want to hear.
Like you would approach them?
No. If they would talk to me, like I would
okay.
like take the literature and just throw it on the floor. I just like, to me it was a joke, because like you're just doing this to, in my eyes it was like you're doing this to make yourself feel better because your book tells you to do it, but you could really care less about anyone here. It's all to make you feel better, and it's all part of like whatever agenda.
You thought they were just doing like kind of like Saved by Works, like
Yeah.
doing stuff just so you can earn your spot in heaven.
Yeah.
Is that what you thought?
Right, but I think he's also saying is there was what you felt was no genuineness of caring about the person that they
Absolutely.
were talking
Yeah.
to.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
It was. Yeah. It was.
And that's what it should be about,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But then you didn't even believe what they were preaching anyways. You thought they were preaching, like you said,
at
like,
first, like
fairy tale stuff.
Yeah, it was a big joke to me, and then they were doing it, trying to push their agenda on other people, and I'm like, leave us alone. Like, we don't want to hear whatever you have. That's good for you. Like at that point, I just thought religion was, like I said earlier, a way for people to help make themselves feel better and put hope into something.
So when does this all come to a head?
Yeah. So, when I was 21, I met a girl at my friends, quite a few of my friends were like DJs for like local clubs, but it was like indie music type stuff, like 80s indie. And when I was 21, I would go there and just hang out with them and drink quite a bit. And then like sometimes they would go do guest things in LA. And at that time, I actually really liked LA, liked going out there. So one was at, I don't even remember where it was at. I think it was at one in Riverside. I met this girl there. We started dating shortly after. And then we moved in together. And I moved out to Riverside. I was still going to school in Yucaipa.
What's that? What is that? The college out there?
Crafton Hills.
Crafton Hills.
Yeah. I love that school. It's actually
It's in a dope spot.
Oh yeah,
Up
right
on
top
that
of the
hill
hill
right there?
Yeah, my
Yeah.
brother lives like 5 minutes from there.
Oh,
now.
really?
Maybe less than that.
Like that area, like
Yeah.
Redlands and.
I do like that area. I love that. Yeah, that was a part of my youth. That area, we would go out there skate and stuff.
Oh, really?
Yeah, yeah. I love that area. It brings me back to my youth. So anyway, we moved in together. Obviously, not living as we should have been. And then her
But
brother.
to you, that I mean,
Yeah,
There was
nothing
wrong with that.
There's
that-
nothing, no
yeah.
conviction, no anything. It's
Yeah.
just, this is life.
Yep.
That's how everyone I knew lived life. Her brother approached me and said he got a job working for a company in Chino. I was like, yeah, that's cool. I was working part-time in Redlands, and I was looking to make more money. So I started working there part-time, and then met the owner. He was a really nice guy. And then probably, I want to say maybe an hour into my first day, we're about to start, and he's like, all right, guys, let's pray. And I was like, oh, no, what did I get myself into?
What is this?
Oh, no. So I was just like, kind of had my mindset like, oh, this obviously isn't going to last very long for me. Like, they're going to want nothing to do with me. I mean, at the time I had like my beliefs. I showed up on the first day with my big plugs in my ears and lip. My lip was pierced, and they didn't ask me to take anything off. They just kind of accepted me, and I had worked in construction before, so it worked out well. I mean, I fed in. I fit in really well, and then for the next couple months, that the owner, his name is Hector. Shout out to Hector Armendariz.
What's up, Hector?
Yeah, he's the man. He started just opening up to me about his Christian beliefs and what God had done in his life. He'll be the first to tell anyone, like, he came from drugs. He came from, they were just heavily involved in the world. He was very money hungry, and he was just heading down a dark path. And God grabbed a hold of him and
Did he tell you this right away, or?
Oh yeah, he was like within the first week he was sharing this stuff with me. He's an open book. Like he knows the power of God in his story.
Mm-hmm.
And
so for you, because you've seen some other Christians that weren't a good example, did you doubt, or like what were you thinking when he told?
My
tell you
first
something
reaction
like that?
was like, honestly, my first reaction was like, well, that sounds really good for you. That was kind of like,
it worked for you.
yeah. I
like
mean,
you were saying, you just thought it was something to make people feel better.
Yep.
So you were thinking that's your medicine.
oh yeah, and I didn't necessarily look at religion as a bad thing, because I looked at what it did to like people around the world, and it's like, yeah, they don't have hope. Give them something to believe in.
What do they call it? The opium for the poor?
Yeah.
Is that what they call it?
Yeah.
For the
The
masses.
opium for the poor, yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, it worked for him. I was like, that's awesome. But he didn't give up. Like he kept sharing with me, and like he would say things, and I'd actually have questions. Like, well, I wonder about this.
Were you trying to like kind of catch him in like? Were you like?
No, he was a really.
Or were you genuinely curious?
It was more like, this guy has really like opened up his life to me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to be a jerk.
Mm-hmm.
Like I usually would have been.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, I'll hear what he has to say, and I'll engage in his conversation. But it wasn't like hey, now I'm interested. It was none of that.
And you also weren't trying to prove him wrong.
No, I would just say little things, but it wasn't like in a rude way.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. But also too, I would imagine you guys were developing a relationship
Absolutely.
where it wasn't some guy on the street or someone on the street hand you a card and telling
Nope.
you you're going to hell.
Nope.
It was this guy interacting with you.
He was interacting with me, and he actually showed like a concern about my life.
Mm.
I think the first day I was there, we were in San Diego for a job, and it was pretty much the whole company. We were out there doing a job on a weekend, and our hotel happened to be in the Hooters parking lot, and I got drunk my first night at Hooters and then like went to bed at 3 a.m. and got up at 6 to work.
Dang.
Yeah. So that was their introduction to
Shane.
me. Yeah. But yeah, he kept me around, and kept talking to me. And when I met him, certain things in my life just kind of started falling apart.
Ooh.
Like the girl I was with, we just didn't see eye to eye on a lot of things. But we like to go drink. We like to.
Was your party partner? Or
Yeah. And one night in particular, me and this girlfriend, we had leftover alcohol from like a party or something, so we brought it with us. Over probably like 2 blocks from where we lived, just happened to be a school, and we're just sitting in the car, talking and drinking, and probably about 20 minutes later, a cop knocks on the door, on the window.
Dang.
And puts us both in handcuffs.
Oh man.
Yeah, so
You freaking out at that point, or?
not. It was just kind of like I kind of knew something was gonna end up catching up to me. Like I knew that was illegal, but I used to drink and drive a lot, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm.
Like again, I went out to LA for clubs and stuff, and
Yeah.
had to get home somehow.
I mean, I was the same way.
There wasn't Uber or Lyft back then for us.
Right.
No.
So then he came back and was like, he's like, you know you're in trouble, right? And I was like, yeah, I understand. Like, I'm not gonna lie to you at this point. I mean, we've already made it this far. I can't deny anything. He's like, he started naming everything he could get me for, and then it started sinking in, like the depth of the trouble.
And
that I
you're
was
like,
in.
I'm in.
Yeah,
I'm
he
in
basically just started. I don't even know if it's true, but he said drinking on government property because it was a public school. I don't even know if that's a thing or not, but
Sounds legit.
yeah, I took his word for it.
Yeah, exactly,
Yeah,
at that moment.
yeah. He said, your car was on. I can get you for a DUI.
Yeah.
I was like, I know that because one of my friends had a DUI for the exact same thing.
I think just if the keys are
Just
in
the
the car.
keys in the car.
Yeah, it doesn't
Yeah,
have
if
to
you
be
have an
started.
intent for you going somewhere,
Yeah.
and that's what they could say. You had an intent of leaving.
Yeah, you don't live at the school.
No,
So.
you obviously don't live here. Yeah, and giving alcohol to a minor. He said that was the
Mm.
worst one.
Mm.
Dang.
Well, yeah. He's like, you she's 19 and you distribute alcohol to a minor. And I was like, I get it. I couldn't say anything else, but yeah, then you get that sinking feeling in your stomach, like I might actually go to jail. He's like, I get it, but I don't get it. Why wouldn't you just go home?
Yeah.
I mean, he was just like talking to me. I was like, I don't know what else to tell you, man. I made a really poor decision. He's like, where do you live? I was like 2 blocks. He's like, I don't want to ever see you out here again. And then he just got her out of the car, took her cuffs off, and let us go.
Dang.
And then we got home, and I think just like her freaking out on top of all that we had drank, it like caught up to her. So she was a wreck. Like she was in the bathroom, like just throwing up, like not really there. She was just like out of it, where like she couldn't even just like carry on a conversation. She was just out of it. I'm like, oh man, like she's in trouble. Like I might actually have to take her to the hospital. I just stayed up, made sure she was okay, made sure she was breathing. So I didn't really get any sleep that night. I go to work the next day and I was just almost like nothing happened. But something I did that night, what was absolutely out of character. It was one of those things where, because Hector had already been talking to me, had an influence in my life. When she was going through that, I found myself like saying, like praying for the first time. I had no idea what prayer was, but he introduced me to that. And I just basically said something simple like, well, God, if you are real, please help her. And that was it. And that was the first time I ever like prayed. And then the next morning I totally forgot about it, didn't do anything, and life was back to the same.
Right.
And then about a week later, I'm with
that's kind of like how the Pharaoh was, like with Moses, you know, and he would ask, you know, how does it go? Like there'd be the plagues, and he would finally like, okay, like
tell him to stop,
and then it would stop,
and then it would go back. He would go
and
back
then his heart would be hardened again after it, you know, the plague would stop. And
it wasn't. I didn't attribute it to God helping her. It was just like, oh yeah, she's okay. Like,
but just the fact that you reached out to God was, like you said, was uncharacteristic of
you. I went out for like a lifeline because I mean a lot happened that night, and I was like, man, I'm destroying this poor girl's life, and I can't help her. I can't even freaking go to the hospital right now because imagine if that cop pulls me over again.
Jeez.
Yeah, I was terrified to drive, so I'm like, so yeah, about a week later, I'm with Hector, and he would purposefully try to spend time with me and take me out on jobs with him.
So you would drive with him to the job site?
Yeah. So we would go in like the same work truck and everything. And we were out in Ontario, and we go to lunch. Carl's Jr. right by Ontario Mills. Shout out. But
famous star.
Yeah. But
the official sponsor of One Story Podcast, Carl's Jr. Go get your double Western cheeseburger.
Yeah. So we were there just eating, and he just starts talking to me again, like saying, Shane, what are you doing with your life? Like, I know what you're doing, but what's the purpose behind it? Like, why are you going to school? What are you going to, like, I know what you're going to school for, but like, for what? And I was like, well, I want to have a good job so I can, super young when they had kids.
To you, that's what life was. You work, you earn money, you get a house, you just like all the basic needs that you need to survive.
I didn't want to have to work as hard as my parents did, so that's why I was really going to college and to find a better way.
But there was nothing my point was there was nothing beyond earning.
No. It was just like you live it up, you have your family, have your kids, do your best to contribute to society, and then peace out.
Yeah.
So you're telling him this, you're telling Hector this.
Yeah, I'm telling him that, and he just came and said, God has a different plan for your life. And then I was just like, that was probably like, I would say the rudest I ever got. I was like,
with him?
Yeah, I was like, I don't know what you're talking about, man. Like, nothing, and I just kind of said, like, none of this is really making sense to me. And he just...
Like all the stuff he was telling you?
Yep.
Okay.
So I just kind of was like, at that point, when he started saying, like, God had a plan for my life, it didn't make sense. And then I just brought up just saying, like, I just don't get it.
Were you frustrated or angry or?
More like I don't know what you want me to say. Like, you keep talking to me about this, but I don't know what reaction you're trying to get out of me.
Yeah.
Like, my mind's set on what I'm doing.
Right. Like, give up already.
Kind of like, you can still talk to me. Like, I don't mind you sharing stuff with me, but you start telling me, like, God has a different plan for my life than the one that I've been working on. That's weird to me. I'm like, how would you even know what God has?
Well, because he was telling you what you're doing was not what God has in store.
Yeah, he saw the path I was heading on, and he obviously knew. Well, that's obviously not what God has for him.
Yeah, so that upset you.
Yeah, and he's just trying to bring out, like, what's your purpose? I know that's what he's trying to get, is what the purpose of my life was. And he just started saying, I understand you don't I understand that you don't understand, but Jesus is real. Like, the God I talked to you about, he's real, and he does love you. And I hope one day you come to understand that. And he's like, I've told you how I used to be and what God has brought me to. I'm nowhere near perfect. But God's forgiveness and grace is real. Like, I still remember this conversation very vividly. And then we got done eating lunch. We head out to the car. We're in the work truck, and he goes, starts the car, but he just sits there. Like, dude, what are we doing? Like, we got work to do. And I want to get home. So
were you still irritated?
No. It was just kind of like I at that point I understood where he was coming from. He was just genuinely trying to help a kid out.
But you still didn't believe what he was saying.
No.
Okay.
No. But I knew his intent. His intent was well. It wasn't him just trying to, hey, here's the Kool-Aid I drink. You drink it now. It was really like, I'm trying to help you to not have to go through a lot of hurt, because I went through a lot of hurt.
He cared.
Yeah, he cared. And I hadn't really had that from a person. My parents just kind of accepted my lifestyle. They're just like, well, he's not hurting anybody.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he's not addicted to heroin. He's not doing this. So
for sure,
he's okay. But then, he's
gainfully employed. He's living life.
Yeah, he's going to school. He's doing okay. We're in the work truck, and he just stops, and he just says, Shane, I really want you to listen. And he was like, Jesus is real. He was a real person. He is still alive. He did rise from the dead. As he did go to the cross. He did do all this for you. And I was like, okay. Just, okay. I hear you. And then he just said, his next statement was, I believe the Holy Spirit coming upon him, because he was really just like, God, give me something to tell this kid. And he just said, you don't have to be afraid to die anymore. Jesus died for that. And the presence and peace of God just came over me in an instant.
The Holy Spirit.
Yeah. I just looked at him, and then I put my head down, and I started crying like I hadn't cried in I don't know how long.
You got hit.
Yeah, it just overcame me. It was like, you mean this thing I've been terrified of my entire life, I don't need to be? And then I feel like Jesus really showed himself to, like.
Did it all make sense at that point?
Yep.
Just instantly.
Instantly, he was just like.
Because you're thinking, how can Hector know that I've struggled with this fear?
Yeah, I didn't talk to anybody about it. I didn't share with anybody about it, but he just said, you don't have to be afraid to die anymore. Jesus did that for you.
Wow.
Did you, like, I'm trying to think of you in that moment, thinking like, first of all, how do you know this about me?
It wasn't like, how do you know this about me? Because it was an instant. Like, I knew how he knew that about me, because
all the stuff he had been telling you, and
it all just came, and I just really felt like the embrace of God for the first time ever in my life.
Just consumed by the Holy Spirit.
Absolutely.
Dang.
Yeah, that's the only thing I could attribute it to, because I was a wreck, and I didn't care who was next to me. I didn't care anything. I was just like, and I look at him, he takes his sunglasses off and he's bawling his eyes out too. And he's just crying. And he was like, Shane, what you're feeling right now is real. He was like, do you believe? Do you believe now? And I was like, yeah, I do.
Oh my God.
I do. He's like, all right, well, let's pray.
Oh my gosh.
So we prayed, and I'm still crying as he's praying. And he just starts saying things that are like basically what it means to commit your life to Christ and what it means to accept him as Lord and Savior. And I was like, yeah, okay.
I want that.
Okay. I didn't have any other answer, but
You're
yes and okay.
agreeing. You're agreeing.
I didn't. It was no more no. It was okay. Like, I get it. And
so all the years of really just pushing back on the theology and pushing back on what people were doing and what a whole philosophy that you developed.
Yep.
Instantly gone.
Instantly. It wasn't a question. It wasn't a doubt. It was just, and yeah, I feel very blessed to have that interaction with God right from the beginning.
Yeah.
To have him really just
reveal himself to you.
Yeah, reveal himself to me and just embrace me in such a powerful way to where, like, there was no doubt anymore. There was no questioning. There was no, is this real? It was all of a sudden, this is real, and Jesus is who he says he is. He is your Lord. He does have a plan for your life.
I'm tripping out because a lot of times, like, people are at the end of the rope, or they're like at one point you were just like, nowhere to turn to, but that wasn't the point where you believed in him. No, you were fine. Essentially,
I was fine.
I mean, minutes before you're like, okay, like, I hear you, I'm good, I got, I'm gonna let's go back to work so I can
still rejecting
go live my life.
it, but
then minutes later, you believe, like you took it all in, because we've talked about people being in jail and people being like strung out and just there's no way out, and then boom, you weren't even at that point. You were
I was just
not only that, he had no part of your life.
No, not at all.
But it seems, but your heart was ripe though, or you know what I mean? Like, I think it was Hector.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Cultivating
it took, God used him in an amazing way as far as, like, it wasn't just a one and done. It was a sincere person who had their life changed by Christ, who interacted with me and brought me into his life and laid it all out bare.
Mm-hmm.
And then I saw the genuineness and the true love he had.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what it took for me. And obviously God knew that.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't going to be like a festival or anything like that.
You weren't going to go to one of the, or
no, but even if someone brought me to one, it wasn't going to be like, yeah, this is like, oh yeah, I heard the gospel, now I'm coming. It was, so even now when I share my faith, I use my story all the time, because it took another person's story, the power of God, so just reviving someone's life and bringing himself in that person's story for me to come to belief. So I truly believe in the power of a person's testimony and their story, how
and that's
God
why,
uses it.
That's why you're here.
Well,
exactly. Yeah.
Well, I'm just thinking too, though, like he wasn't preaching the gospel to you. He was just telling his story.
No, he was preaching the gospel.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he was.
I mean, he was telling him Jesus is real.
Yeah,
Jesus died on the
but
cross.
He would explain things like Jesus died for you, and then he'd talk about, give me scripture, or he'd say stuff like that.
Okay.
And like,
but he would back
but
it
it
up
sounds
by
like
the example of his life.
Yeah, he backed it up. I mean, his talk was his walk, and that was the first time I had seen it. And he was saying like the love of Christ, and I got to see that firsthand in him, and the way his family was, the way his family treated me. It was a genuine.
They reflected Jesus.
Absolutely. And I had never seen that lived out before.
So from that point, I mean, it just changed. And I mean, obviously you
Yeah,
were perfect the next day, but
no.
that set the course.
The drive home was a little weird. I'm like,
you guys just cried together.
oh no. I'm saying like, yeah, well,
from work.
Yeah, no,
But
from
even
work.
pulling out of the parking lot probably was a little.
Well, yeah, we see people walking by and they're like, why are these two dudes crying in the car together? What's that about?
Yeah.
So yeah, on the ride home, I was like, I'm a Christian. And I was like, I believe in Jesus. Like, I'm just repeating these things over and over in my head. And I'm like,
how did this happen?
What? How did I get here? Like, it wasn't negative though, but it was just like, what happened?
Yeah, kind of blown away.
Well, you did a 180 instantly.
It was like, what happened? And
instantly, that's still blowing me away. That's crazy.
And Hector would never tell me like, oh, you need to give up drinking, you need to give up smoking, because I used to smoke cigarettes and drink. Still, like when I was working with him.
No, but still today we had smoked before.
Yeah, yeah, just one every now and then, just a little one.
It's good. It's cool.
Yeah. So I decided, like, on the way home, all right, well, Lord, help me stop drinking, help me stop smoking, because I know these things are bad for me. I instantly knew that that wasn't what he wanted. So from that day, I went a full 6 years without having a cigarette, having, well, now it's 10 years, but yeah, and I gave up drinking, which drinking was like a huge theme in my life, like everyday type of thing.
We started, at a young age.
And it was just
was
like
part of your whole
life
scene.
kind of revolved around that.
Yeah. And I would still have friends calling me like, hey, we're going to go to the bar tonight. You want to go? And I would just say, no, I'm good. I got to get up early for work. I didn't really share with anybody really. But then my girlfriend started noticing weird things about me. And I told her what happened. Like, I waited a couple of days, but I told her what happened. And she was like, oh, cool. Because, I mean, her family was somewhat like, would go to church every now and then, but it wasn't like a big thing for them. So, I mean, give it a couple months, and she just said, like, I miss the old Shane. I'm happy for you where you're at, but I miss the old Shane. Like, I miss what we had before. And from there, it was just, didn't see eye to eye on anything. We had one last argument, and I just said, you know what? I gotta go. It's best for both of us. And it was, to her, it was kind of out of the blue. But I showed up at my dad's door, said, can I live here? He's like, yeah, what's going on? And I basically told him what happened. And he was just like,
you told him about you, like giving your life to God?
Yep. And me leaving her because I didn't want to have premarital sex and I didn't want to do all these things that I was doing before. And he was just like,
shook his head and slammed the door in your face.
Who are you?
Just kidding.
Yeah, I was kind of like, what? Like, yeah, you can live here, but I don't know what's going on. So yeah, that was it. And
when was this? How long ago?
That was 2008. Fast forward about 2 years from there, I was a part of a church in Ontario, a church plant, and they asked me to just get a Facebook for the church. So I did that, and then I happened to see a person I just saw different friends that I knew from high school that I hadn't talked to in a really long time. And this girl I knew from there, her name was Sina. I saw her on there, and like and that was it. I mean, like she had friend requests to me or whatever, and so, but she was just there. But I really just used Facebook as an avenue to really reach out to people and kind of more so for church stuff. And she posted a thing about her church having like a college age thing.
So right away, she goes to church.
Yeah, but it was more so like everyone that I was going to church with was married, older, had kids. I was the only single guy, so
felt a little out of place.
It was more like, I'm not leaving my church. I just want to meet more people my age that I can hang out with.
Right.
So that was my intentions of going. So I went there. Like I knew her from high school, but we didn't talk. Like she dated a football player. I was not the football player type. We were complete opposite people. But I knew who she was. We had a lot of the same friends. But yeah, from there we met, and I saw her pouring her heart out as she worshiped the Lord. And I was like, whoa, hey now. So yeah, we actually started hanging out ever since then. You
hit it off.
And Isaac wanted me to really share this part of it. It's kind of embarrassing, but one of our first dates was we went to Huntington Beach with that same group from her church. And we get home. We get back to her house. She had drove out there because I had just done like a 10-hour work day. So she's like, oh, no, don't worry about it. I'll drive. So she drove out there. We get back to her house, and we're just sitting in the car. And, like, I put my head on her shoulder, and then she just starts kissing me. And I was like, oh, man, what's going on? Like, it was weird to me because I'm like, and then super awkward. I just looked at her. I was like, can we pray? And she's like, what? I was like, can we pray? I just want to make sure we're not moving too fast on this. And she was like, yeah, okay.
We just kissed.
Yeah, it just put her in a really awkward spot. But I was like,
but you weren't even moving in for a kiss. You were just putting your head on. Or
and in her defense, she says I was asking for it with. But
that's funny. That's funny.
But yeah, so that was our first kiss.
Nice.
We kissed and then we prayed.
And then yeah.
So,
that's awesome.
Yeah. My poor wife.
What was the prayer?
Lord, just no, it was just like, it was just a simple prayer like, we don't know what you have in this. And we just want you to lead it, kind of thing.
Amen, brother. Amen.
Yeah.
You know?
I was trying to do the right thing. I had been in many wrong relationships, and I was trying to make this one right.
That's good.
Dang.
That's good.
Oh, that prayer worked out.
Yeah. She went on a missions trip to Cambodia, and through that, I spent time fasting and praying when she was gone. I would have preferred to, like, do things with my friends and make the time go up by faster, but that's what the Lord wanted me to do. So, and it was in that he revealed to me that was my wife.
Sick.
And we had only been dating for less than a month.
Dang.
But it was just
so
like,
how long until you guys got married?
I proposed to her probably a couple weeks after she got back from Cambodia.
Oh,
Shut
wow.
up. So like within 2 months you guys were engaged.
Yes.
Damn.
Dope.
And then we met in May 2010. We got married in May of 2011.
Oh, a year later.
Yeah.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah, so we had a
And now
9-month
you guys-
engagement, and
Now you guys got 2 kids.
now we have 2 kids.
A church family.
Church family. Life is good, man. I mean,
Dang.
it's not perfect. Things happen, but
Yeah, for sure.
but God definitely redeemed my story. And
Yeah. Thanks
Love
God
that.
for faithful servants like Hector.
oh, absolutely.
You know,
And
to
he's
lead you to that.
still one of, he's like I said, he's the man. He won't take any credit for any of it, but yeah, I love that guy.
Maybe one day Hector
That's
can
what I
come on.
say.
Oh yeah.
Hector,
Share
if you're
his
listening to this, email the One Story Podcast.
Oh,
at one story podcast at gmail.com.
I'll send it to him. His story's intense, but it's good.
Awesome. Yeah, and I was just thinking right now of what's the Revelation, was it
11.
12:11 about the word of their testimony to overcoming the enemy.
Yep.
I mean, our testimonies, our stories are powerful,
Yep.
and like you kind of started off talking about that, just you sharing it here. Hopefully, if you're out there listening, and I mean, it from listening here, it didn't sound like you were on this crazy wrong path. But whoever you are out there, if you feel similarity to Shane, and you know, God's real. Like Hector told him, Jesus is real. He died on the cross for us. We can have life in Jesus. Just got to reach out to him.
And Revelation 12:11 says, they triumphed over him by the blood of the Lamb and by the word of their testimony.
Yeah.
And that says it all right there. So
Amen.
thank you, Shane. Love you, brother.
Love you too.
I appreciate it, man. That's
Absolutely.
such a good story.
No, thank you guys.
And with that, I just ask that you open your eyes, listen closely, soften your heart, and ask God to reveal himself to you.